So I'm going to get started. I'm also live on Instagram this morning. And I am so nervous. This message beat me right up. The past few days, I decided to do this. The enemy told me, why you pick this topic? Nobody can relate to this. This doesn't make any sense. Being attacked in my dreams. And so I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know. I don't know if I should ask someone else to bring this message. But anyway, because I was attacked so much, I am going to push through anyway. And I just want to pray first and foremost. So, dear Heavenly Father, I thank you for this day. I thank you for your strength that is made perfect in all of my weaknesses. I thank you for everyone who is on this call, on Instagram, and on Zoom. I thank you for those who will come along and watch later. I pray that it will bless them and edify them. I pray that you would help me to decrease, dear God, and so that it will be none of me and all of you, and that the message that you have proclaimed for the day will come forth. You do all things well, dear God. No experience, no lesson, no research, nothing was wasted. And so I pray that you would not only allow this message to resonate with others, but that you would protect me as I speak and as I leave this place. I thank you and I give you all glory and praise. Amen. Because I don't know if you all know, but spiritual warfare is real, especially when you talk about messages like this. I already had people coming at me like, what about respecting me? Why do we have to learn about respecting him? So anytime you talk about the traditional aspects of marriage, respect, submission, you're gonna get hit with people talking to you like, why are you focusing on that? Why he can't love me? Why he can't respect me? Why am I the one who always have to submit? All of those things, because people rebel against the actual foundations of marriage, what makes a healthy marriage. People rebel against that. So anyway, that's an aside. I'm just going to move straight in. So our topic today is giving him room to grow, respecting him while in the valley. And when I was thinking about this topic, I specifically wanted to talk about trauma because I have been in so many rooms with different people. Anytime you're in any setting with, well, it's in the Bahamas. So anytime you're in any setting, whether it's women, whether it's males, you would always hear at least one or two people say, I was abused, or I was molested, or XYZ. And so this is very prominent. So I started to do research, and I always end up stumbling on like different cases. There was, I think it was an NBA player who came out one time, and like one of the players touched him on his butt, and all of a sudden he started to freak out because he had these memories of, being molested. There was the pastor Mike Todd, who did a whole excellent series on pornography, and that was based on he said, like, I was exposed to pornography at a young age, but then later on in the talk he went to the actual root of that, where he was actually touched as a child, and that led him to be more perverse. I have had friendships with men who were assaulted by women actually at a young age, and it led them to be hypersexual. And these just different types of traumas. There's a whole array of other traumas. There's neglect. There is being assaulted. There are people who grew up in gang violence. So it's all kind of different ways that trauma can manifest itself in a man's life. And I think we often fail to realize that our men come into these marriages. It's not fair, quote unquote, it's not fair, but they come into these marriages with baggage, and we have to help them unpack it. No wife wants to be a therapist. No wife wants to be the healing room. No wife wants to be the punching bag. It doesn't feel good at all. But sometimes we have to be prepared and equipped to take on these hats and come into these spaces because they may need it at some point or another. So let's jump right in. Today we're talking about loving and respecting your man through the valley moments. So we may see many of the characteristics of these valley moments. You may see he has self-esteem issues, he has addictive behaviors like alcoholism, pornography, masturbation, habitual lying, a low libido, or he may be hypersexual. He may be experiencing excessively rough sex. That could be a characteristic. He can have flashbacks, panic attacks. He can deal with situations with avoidance, or when you try to talk to him or anything. It could be as simple as, baby left the garbage out, and he would respond with shame, avoidance, embarrassment, and he would deflect. No, I didn't. No, I didn't. And that is also a leaf, or what we call a branch of certain traumas. And it could be anything. It doesn't have to be based in child molestation or child neglect. there are other ways that these traumas can manifest. So what is trauma? Trauma is defined as an emotional wound or shock that causes substantial, lasting damage to the psychological development of a person. Examples could include childhood abuse or neglect, relationship or betrayal trauma. So some of our men experience really significant heartbreaks in their dating relationship that caused trauma. It left a mark on them. It damaged their ability to truly trust and truly love someone and truly open up themselves to someone. You may think that you got all of him, but he may have layers that he's hiding from you because of this betrayal trauma that is stopping him from truly connecting in the way he really wants to. It could be gang violence. A lot of men grow up in a city where they experience gang violence that left them with trauma. They may have seen a lot of death around them. He may have experienced a car accident that has manifested his way in different ways in his life, in terms of him developing addictive behaviors, him trying to figure out why me, why am I worthy of this, all of those things that come with that. It could be the sudden death of a loved one. I know a friend of mine, her husband stopped believing in God after a family member was diagnosed with cancer, and he developed certain behaviors that were anti-God because he was mad at God. The root of his problem was, I am mad at God for allowing this person to get cancer, and what that manifested into was him cheating, a lot of lying behaviors. But really, they had to really unpack all of that and get to the root where this thing happened, but God is still good. And he had to come to an understanding of who God is. And you guys may be thinking like, wow, like all of these things can happen in a marriage. Yes, and more. And you have to be fully equipped. And you may not experience it personally, but it's important that you have an understanding of what you may be facing, what you may be up against in your relationship. So trauma in marriage. It's important to realize that our husbands are human. Many men enter marriage feeling like they're fine, feeling like they have it all under control. These things won't come up. These are laid under the surface. I got this. So they may not even talk to you about what they had going on. They may not even go to their past in certain situations. They may not revisit the past. And the good thing about marriage is it's a mirror and it's a revealer. It will expose the truth. You can't hide in a marriage for too long and the truth just lay under the cover. The truth is gonna come out. All the nasty parts of your personality, all the nasty parts of his personality, all your little truths, all your little undercover stuff, eventually it comes out in marriage. And it's good and it's also painful. It can definitely be painful. So you may be wondering, especially my singles, how come I didn't know about this before marriage? Because number one, I needed to be prepared. And number two, I probably would have avoided this boy like the plague. Why didn't I know before marriage? So it's a lot of different reasons why you may not know. Number one, he blacked out the memories. I have had traumatic experiences. Sometimes I don't even remember them until I'm in a situation and they come to memory. And for me, if you talk to me on a day-to-day basis, they never happen until I get in that situation where, oh yeah, that did happen to me. Number two, and this is a big one, he may be afraid to lose you. He is so afraid to lose you, this good woman that he finally got. So he will hold the stuff in and he will not tell you what happened to him or what he's going through or what he's facing. Number three, he thought he could handle it and he didn't see it as a problem. Oh, that ain't nothing. Like, yes, watch porn here and there, but that don't have nothing to do with us. That ain't affect the relationship at all, So he may not view it as a problem. And number four, he feels ashamed. He feels so ashamed to tell you. And this goes back to, quite often, this goes back to abuse, especially when it's male on male abuse, and they were older. So they may feel very ashamed to tell you that, I was abused as a child. And then I have to add this in. It may be that you didn't ask the right questions before marriage. Now, I say this, but as a caveat, I don't think this is really a reason. I quite often in my experiences talking to women find that they did ask the right questions, they just did not get the right answer. It did not get the truth. The truth came out in stages and they got the full package later on. So I find I put no blame on you when you walk into a marriage and you had no idea what was going on. Sometimes God intentionally blinds us to these things because of a greater purpose at work. He wants to, number one, heal you, heal him, continue to teach you, humble you, give you patience, because that's what it's going to require. When you're dealing with someone who comes into the relationship broken, when you expect, the expectation is two whole people are walking into a marriage. But that may not be what happens in reality. You may think you're whole, but things come up. You have triggers that come up in the relationship, and you realize, oh, I'm damaged here, I'm damaged there. And the good thing about marriage is it offers this protection for healing. You can't necessarily get out of it right away. Like if I notice some red flags in a relationship, I can break off that relationship. I don't want to deal with that. You seem a little angry when you upset. I don't need to deal with that. But when you're married to this person, and you see like, oh, they're getting a little angry, like that's weird. You have to actually work through that. And that is when people say marriage is work, that's what they mean. I see things that I would have broken up with someone before, but instead I have to work through these things because this is my husband. Divorce is expensive. It don't make any sense. You're going to date somebody else and they may have the same issues or more. And so you really have to make the mental decision that I'm going to work through these things that I see. And typically the first response when you uncover trauma, so you could uncover like the residual of the auxiliary. You can uncover like the alcoholism, like you can uncover he has a bunch of snacks under his bed. You could uncover the pornographic images. You could uncover the text with his ex-girlfriend. You could uncover all of that, right? And that could lead to feelings of betrayal. But when you also uncover the truth, his history, that could lead to feelings of betrayal. Why didn't you tell me that your daddy used to lock you in a room and not feed you? Why didn't you tell me that you were abused as a child? Why didn't you tell me that this girl like cheated on you with your best friend? Why didn't you tell me that? And because they didn't let you into that space of intimacy for whatever their reason was, you feel betrayed, you feel hurt, you feel sad, you feel angry. And that's all completely natural. And like I said, God may have allowed you to walk in not knowing because of a greater purpose that is at work. And so everything that you may be feeling is natural. The betrayal, the hurt, the anger, the range of emotions, because you want to help this person through, but you also don't know how to deal with all of these emotions going on in you. Like, I can't believe that happened to you. I don't know what to do. I want to help you through this. I want to help you heal, but this seemed like so much work. And trust me, the whole range of emotions are there. And so you could do two things. You could either throw a pity party, this is too much work, this is too hard, I can't do this, or you could decide that I'm gonna move forward in purpose. And we're gonna work on this marriage and we're gonna get you together, I'm gonna get me together and we're gonna push through this. And so this conversation is all about the latter. It is about using your situation for purpose and for the greater good. For deciding that I'm gonna walk through this thing, we're gonna get through this thing, and we're gonna work on this together. And that takes a lot. That takes also him. You can't have this conversation, these tips I'm about to give you, you can't have this conversation without him saying or him agreeing or him wanting this marriage to work. He has to come to a point of vulnerability where he wants this marriage to work more than he wants anything else, more than he wants the affections of other women, more than he wants the visual stimulation, more than he wants outside affirmation, more than he wants the drugs, more than he wants the alcohol. He has to want his marriage to work. There may be slip-ups, but ultimately he has to really want this union to work or these tips to work, or else the foundation is just off. What are we pivoting off of? And so we're gonna move through 7 tips. I have 2 wives that I wanna focus on. I don't know if we're gonna have time in this. So when we do the Q&A tonight, I'm gonna bring up these wives. And one of them is Elizabeth in Luke 1. And then the second is Zeresh in Esther 5, 9-14, and Esther 6, 11-14. So when I do the assignment clip today on Instagram, the little tile to say what's our assignment, I'm going to say these are your readings, and we're going to talk about these wives in detail and their responses to their respective husband's valley moment. Disclaimer before we get into it, these tips are helpful for men who've undergone trauma. If you feel your husband may be suffering from a mental illness, then please seek professional help for both you and him. If you are physically or verbally abused, please also seek the help of a professional. Clearly, this is not for any abusive types of behavior towards you. And please do seek the help of a professional. There are various hotlines, there are various people you can talk to about what you may be experiencing. And if you are in an abusive situation, I do recommend that you let someone know, trusted individual. That's very hard to do, but a lot of times we suffer in silence. So please do not suffer in silence. Even let a trusted friend know so they could help protect you when you don't see the damage yourself. So 7 tips. Number 1, recognize the root. Quite often we see the effects, we see the leaves, we see the branches, but go to the root. We may even sometimes see the fruit of it. Go to the root. Look beyond what your eyes can see and try to get to the heart of the matter. And this comes through prayer, heart-to-heart conversations, a lot of pillow talk, divine revelation. God may reveal things to you, and reading and research. So you may see certain behaviors, and in your reading, you're like, oh, okay, that makes sense to me. Let me look more into that. Men who have suffered trauma, quite often they display self-limiting beliefs. They tell themselves they are flawed, broken, unworthy of love, not good enough. And you may hear that language quite a lot, especially during low moments. They may say, they may not use that exact language, but ultimately that's exactly the emotions that they feel. I'm flawed, I'm broken, I'm unworthy of love, I'm not good enough. Another point, you don't have to search phones and devices to get to the secret, or to get to the root. The truth is revealed over time. Nobody attached to this ministry, repeat after me, nobody attached to this ministry should be looking at phones and devices on the sly. I rebuke that spirit in the name of Jesus. Do not pick up his phone. Do not pick up his phone. Number one, you don't need that stress in his life. Number two, God will reveal the truth to you in a way that it will blow your mind. Like, this only could be God. And so, Instagram ladies, Zoom ladies, do not search his phone or devices, okay? God will reveal the truth to you. I promise you that. The truth will come. Your intuition is flaring off, but God will reveal the truth to you in time. Number two, respect his version of events. So let's say you find out your husband was neglected as a child, and for him, this manifested in him seeking outside affirmation. So he finds his money in material things. And so for him, he likes the attention of other women. So he may be buying women all this different stuff, buying things for women, and this gets out of control. And then you find out about it. You find out about the multiple expenses that he has made on other women. Obviously, that causes an issue. Eventually, you'll get to the root of, I was neglected as a child, blah, 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 blah. So that is a lot. And there are situations like that happen all the time in marriages. You see this behavior, you have a heart-to-heart, it's very painful, you get to the root, and you're like, okay, let's move on from here. Let's get up and get going. So he wants to heal. He wants to stop his behavior. He sees it as unhealthy. He doesn't really know why he does it, although he knows, what happened to him. He wants to save his marriage. And so it's important to believe his sequence of events. It's important for you to listen to him and believe. And he will be like, that don't make sense. Like, so what happened between this and this? And when you took the credit card that day, what you did with it? So it's very natural for women to play detective and to want to fill in all the gaps. Like, that's 100% natural, but you have to resist the urge to do that, especially if you're talking about creating an environment for him to heal. And you have to believe his sequence of events. Not only believe his sequence of events, but also believe his interpretation of how these events have manifested in his life. So if he feels like incident X led to behavior Y, then you have to trust and believe him. You may have your secret intuition, you may have your thoughts, but you have to express your belief in him, your trust in him, and anything else that's residual, you take that to God. Like, God, please reveal the truth in this situation. Lord, please reveal the truth. You pray that prayer enough, and I'm sure God is going to reveal the truth. Victims of trauma fear not being believed. They fear being blamed, especially men who have gone through sexual abuse. And their numbers are alarming, ladies. In the US, it's 1 in 6 men who has been molested as a child, 1 in 6. In the Bahamas, I would dare to say that's 1 in 3, if not higher, okay? That means you could have 6 women in the room, and one of their husbands at a minimum was sexually abused as a child. One of their husbands at a minimum was sexually abused as a child. And so this is something that we definitely have to prepare for, and also prepare to protect our children from. This is very, very rampant. And so with victims of trauma, victims who've been abused, they feel as if I tell you, or if I tell you these things, you won't believe me, and you're gonna blame me. You're gonna say, why didn't you run away? Why didn't you fight him off? Why didn't you? And they feel stupid. They spent maybe decades of their life feeling stupid. Like, why didn't I just run away? Why didn't I tell somebody? Why didn't I tell my mommy? You know what I mean? And sometimes this can make them feel like when you come at them, the first thing you're gonna say is, well, why didn't you run away? And all of those emotions they're gonna relive. right? And they're going to feel stupid. They're going to feel at fault. They're going to feel blamed. And they're going to be in a position where they feel like, I can't trust you because you want to get to this harmful place in me. So you have to respect what they tell you. And as they give you more information over time, and sometimes we don't need to know. We don't need to know all of the details. We don't need to know the positions their abuser put them in. We don't need to know all of the details. It may be enough sometimes just to know he was abused. From there, move forward. We don't need to know all of the gory details. We don't need to act it out, relive it. I know our brains sometimes want to know all of the sequences, but sometimes we don't need to know all of the information. So remember, we're creating a safe place for his healing, and as he heals and becomes more naked with you, intimacy develops. So you have to voice your belief in him, not just in his experience, his perception of the experience, but also in how he feels that this experience has shaped his life. Remember, trauma can interfere with memory. So he may forget to tell you, or like, I slept with so-and-so at this point in time. And then later on, you find out he slept with so-and-so, but he may have blocked that memory out. We can't berate our husbands. We can't beat them up for this. It happens. It's a natural occurrence. And we have to remember that our purpose right now is just to create an environment for healing, an environment for truth, an environment for walking this thing out. Number 3, respect this healing process. Respect is not a linear process. Anybody who has ever lost anyone knows that healing looks different for everyone, right? His healing won't always mimic the blogs you read, the YouTube videos you watch, the research papers you read. It won't always look the same. He is a unique individual, and his trauma may manifest itself in a way that's totally different to what you expect or what even the literature says. He may be an anomaly, he may be an outlier. And so you have to give him that space to be that. Keep communication lines open, not just with him, but with God. It's so common that wives get mad at God when they go through these things. Why you let me marry this man? Why you caused me to marry this man? Why I spend so much money on this wedding? They like totally get mad at God and shut him out. But this is the time when you need God more than ever. It's important to understand and be aware of his triggers during this time. And also not only what triggers him, but what triggers you. So it may be that you see him on his phone late at night, and that's a trigger for you, because all of the feelings you experienced when you found out about it flush up again. So it's just simple as communicating, babe, when you're on your phone late at night, I feel a way, and then that's something you two work on. But you have to be logical in some of your requests, because if you say, babe, when I see you on your phone, period, I think you shouldn't have a phone anymore. That's not logical, right? He probably needs a phone. And so some things we have to work through on our own. We have to work through our emotions on our own, our triggers on our own, and help to build the trust back. And sometimes, it's as simple as a conversation to help you become and to help him become. And in this stage, when you're going through these things, don't take things personal. When you see the roots, when you see the leaves and the branches of his trauma, don't take that personal. Now you know that this is because of this. So his pornography addiction has nothing to do with you. You are still desirable. You are still beautiful. There's nothing less about you. That is his issue. That has nothing to do with you, ladies. That is his issue. And you could look at all the research papers. It is an issue with him. His brain has been rewired to, and especially the type of pornography today. Back in the day, it was flipping through the pages of a magazine, and that was the limits of pornography. Or going to a physical brothel, which, has its own embarrassment issues. But today, the pornography is visual. It's actual people interacting, and actually it's even wilder than that. Pornography is a whole other topic. I may need to get Harrison on here to talk about that with you guys, but pornography is a whole other topic. But the type of pornography that men watch today, it causes your brain, it literally causes changes in the brain. So the synapses and the connections in your brain, I think you can call it butons, and it causes pleasure points where you are only stimulated from this type of pleasure. Not to mention, obviously, masturbation and excessive masturbation could cause men to lose some of the feeling down there. So you could end up with erectile dysfunction. And so all of these things are going on with him. They have nothing to do with you. But you may be feeling, oh, I'm not pretty enough. He doesn't desire me. It's because I gained weight, because I'm too small. There's nothing to do with you. It is all to do with his addiction. So don't take things personally. And if you guys want me to talk more about pornography or bring a speaker in, let me know. I think that's important for us to be prepared for as well, because a lot of our men come through with pornography addictions that they don't even realize our problem. Number 4, respect his privacy while also assisting with accountability. Again, and I had to put this as its own point, resist the urge to search his phone and devices. Do not search phones, do not search devices. You can let technology work for you, and as if you both agree, there's something called Covenant Eyes, which will block all pornographic sites. I don't know, I'm not sure how it works, if it works on the phone or just the desktop. I'm pretty sure it should work on the phone too, because that's where a lot of people consume their pornography. If he requests accountability, and it's important that he agrees to this, then you can share passwords. So only if he agrees. You can't force healing on someone. You can't force correction on someone. You can't force someone to give up their vices, because all of that will backfire on you. You have to come to a point of mutual agreement. So if he and you mutually agree that we're gonna every month, we're gonna go through your phone, go through all your folders, go through your contacts, go through Messenger, go through WhatsApp to help him be accountable, then you do that. You're not picking up his phone in private to say, oh, I can catch him slipping, and go through his phone and see what's up. That has to be mutually agreed, because there's something called, there's 2 different things. There's privacy and then there's secrecy. In a relationship, privacy is respected. Privacy is natural. I don't want you going through all my purse. I don't need you reading my diary. I don't need you going through my conversations. But secrecy is the problem. The things that we do in secret are the issue. There should be no secrecy in marriage. You shouldn't have conversations where you're deleting a thread. You shouldn't be deleting pictures you receive, videos you receive. When you get into that area of secrecy, then we have a problem. So you both have to mutually agree that there's honesty in our marriage, there's openness in our marriage, there's privacy in our marriage, mutual respect in our marriage, but there's no secrecy in our marriage. And remember, you can't force healing, because that's going to backfire. Now, push someone to a place that they are not ready to be in yet, that will backfire. Respect his boundaries. If he's not ready for therapy, accept that. I wholeheartedly believe in therapy. I believe in prayer and therapy. I believe in the Holy Spirit and therapy. I have been to therapy and it helped me. If only to tell me, Zemi, your PTSD is normal. If only to tell me, Zemi, your flashbacks are normal. That's all I needed to hear. But I am an advocate for therapy. A lot of Black men don't want to go to therapy. A lot of men, period, don't want to go to therapy. And you have to respect that. It may be that he needs to hear no, don't be scared, Corral. That's why I'm praying for you. I don't want you to go through this. I want your marriage to be free of all of these things, free of all of these things. So lost my train of thought. So it may be that for him, he reads a book, or he sees a YouTube video, or he's talking to his other friends and they're having conversations, and in talking to them or reading this book, he has his breakthrough moment, his epiphany moment that may lead him to therapy, or that may be enough. Because you're only looking for a particular breakthrough, for him to validate the feelings that he's going through, for him to understand he's not alone. That's what therapy does. It helps you to understand that you're not alone in what you're going through, and let's work through these traumas. And so respecting his boundaries. And respecting his boundaries is even like we talked about his story. Don't dig for details. Like, some things are sacred to him. He needs to protect, for his well-being. He doesn't want to tell you everything that he's gone through, but it's important that we respect his boundaries, respect his space, respect his story. Number 6, resist the urge to fix him. Oh my gosh, I should have made this number 1, because women everywhere want to be Mrs. Fix-It. Jada Pinkett Smith entered a whole entanglement because she wanted to fix somebody, because she wanted to help somebody heal. Y'all hear me? Y'all hear me over here? She entered a whole entanglement, could have ruined her marriage, because she wanted to help somebody heal. She saw brokenness in somebody and she wanted to help him through that. And for him, it was addiction. And I can't remember where it started from for him, but she wanted to help him through that. You can imagine how many things go wrong in our lives because we want to be Mrs. Fix-It. No, that's not us. Your husband is not your project. The husband is not your project. He's not your DIY project. He is your husband. He first and foremost belongs to God. So God is the one, God is the potter, not you. So God is the one who shapes him, molds him. You are just a helper along the way. God is in control. God is the one who's ultimately going to change him and help him become the person that he's meant to be. So none of us are Mrs. Fix-It. It's natural to want to fix him and to help him and make everything all right. But that's not our space. Talia says, don't be scared, sis. The good definitely outweighs the hard times. There's beauty in overcoming together. I wholeheartedly believe that. There truly is beauty in overcoming together. I want to say, too, you can't love away someone's trauma. You can't love away someone else's trauma. There's a lot of people who are so well loved, who are homeless on the streets because they want to be there. I don't know if anybody knows, I think his name was Andre. He used to be homeless around COB in Nassau. And his family came from a wealthy family. They loved him to death. And that's where he wanted to be. Eventually, over time, he found Christ and he got cleaned up, was off the streets and got married. But for a lot of his life, he was on the streets, loved by his family, totally loved by his family. And so you can't love away someone else's trauma. Instead, you listen to them. Be present, validate their feelings, be an active listener, be countercultural. Where everyone else would have been like, you stupid, why was in that situation for so long? Why he was so caught up over that girl anyway? Be counter to that. Be a safe place for him. Confirm your support, not just say, baby, I support you, I love you through anything. Confirm that, show that, affirm him, and take the conditions off your love. Boy, if you don't get it together, I gone. If I see one more porn thing on your phone, I gone, buddy. I for that. We have to take those conditions off because there will be slip-ups. 110% there may be slip-ups. What you gonna do? Just up and leave? When you're dealing with someone who is broken and who needs your support? I mean, sometimes sometimes you do sacrifice yourself a little bit in this process. But you have to look beyond. You have to look outside of the tunnel and know that light is coming. God would not give you a snake when you ask for a fish. And so you have to really trust that God means you well. And therefore, there's something that we're going through and we're going to make it to the other side. And so you have to be prepared for situations like that where it may not be looking like you want it to look like. Oh, we've been in therapy for 6 months and you still don't look like you changed. Right? We have to make sure that the environment that we're creating is conducive for healing. And even if it doesn't look like what we want it to look like, that we support them anyway. And that's the beauty of being in this marriage relationship, that they have someone who is there to support them for better or for worse. That's what we said, for better or for worse. Remember to take care of you. That's point number 7, and that's the last point. It is so easy to lose yourself in someone else's brokenness, to become broken in the process. And you actually went through your own trauma. When you uncovered what was going on with him, that led to your relationship and betrayal trauma. So you actually going through a traumatic experience. You actually personally need therapy right now. You need to lean on God right now. You need a support system. You may feel a range of emotions. You may bounce from sadness to anger to hopelessness. I love you, I hate you at the same time. I can't stand to look at you, but I love you so much. All of these different things you may be going through, and that's actually 100% natural. It's important that you find yourself in therapy, and if you don't want to go to therapy, a support group or a trusted friend. I would never say tell your friends all the business of what happened in the relationship. Don't lay out all your husband's trauma at the feet of your friends. God didn't grace them to carry that. But if you need support, there's a trusted friend that can help you through this process. Channel your thoughts and refocus your mind. This is so important. You have to lift your thoughts out of the gutter. You can't erase what you replay. So you cannot keep rehearsing like, oh my God, like when he was a child, this happened. And oh my gosh, these messages that I saw on his phone, all of those things going through your brain. You're not going to be able to have sex with him in the way that you want to. You're not going to be able to look at him because your mind is filled with so many thoughts. So many thoughts. You're trying to fill in all the gaps. You're trying to be investigator, and you're going to be like, okay, at 10:59, he said this happened. But at 11:01, I saw this message, so this don't line up to me. You will drive yourself crazy in that process. Instead, focus on your well-being and creating a safe space for mutual healing. So it's important that you watch what you're listening to, what you're watching during this time, what you're reading during this time, what you're consuming during this time, and you have to lift your thoughts literally up. You can meditate on scripture. You could do healthy, holy affirmations. Remember to remind yourself that I am beautiful, I am fearfully and wonderfully made, especially if what you went through really rocked your self-esteem. If you feel less desirable because of what you went through, you can be like Carell right now, she's working out. You know, that's helping her to get her mind off of certain things, get out there and get moving, you know? And so all of these different things help you to take care of you. Do self-care, get your nails done, girl. Don't be looking like what you're going through. Don't be looking like what you're going through. Because you don't need the noise of the market out there, right? So continue to make yourself look nice. Fix your hair, do your makeup, do your nails, get your pedicure, get your manicure. Make sure you do the self-care that you need because you're really helping in this time. Think about a newborn baby and how you feel when a baby comes into the world, right? You're losing sleep, all these things going on. Like it's a shock. A baby is a type of shock to a relationship. And what you went through in terms of uncovering this person's trauma is a shock to the relationship. That's a shock to you as well. And so that's very traumatic. And I don't take that for granted at all. And so that's my 7 points. Let me go back. Number 1, recognize the root. 2, respect his version of events. 3, respect his healing process. 4, respect his privacy while assisting with accountability. 5, respect his boundaries. 6, resist the urge to fix him. And number 7, remember to take care of you. I don't know if we have any questions. Quickly, we do have a Q&A tonight where I'll go over the 2 wives. So we have Zarish, and I'm saying her name right because I do pronunciation super bad. Esther 5, 9-14, and Esther 6, 11-14, and also Elizabeth in Luke 1. What we'll be doing is talking about these 2 wives and the differences in how they responded to their husbands during their respective valley seasons. Okay, let me see. Okay, I don't see any questions. So I'm going to pray out and seal this information. Remember, like this doesn't have to be your story, but it's something that we don't talk about. We never talk about this. We never talk about the fact that our men may be coming with a whole bag of things to unpack. I never heard it when I was dating my husband. I never heard that, you know, there could be things that was going on that I need to be prepared for. No, never heard it. So it's important that we are understanding that just like we came with certain stuff, we may have had our heart broken, we may have gone through trauma in our lives, they come with that same things as well. And it's important that we understand that they need our help to get through. We are not therapy rooms, we are not therapists, we're not trained counselors, but we are placed in these men's life for a reason, to help them be their helpmeet in every single area of their lives, helping them through to their process of healing and helping them become the man that God always wanted them to be. They can't become the men that God wanted them to be if they're still struggling with this and that. Like Mike Todd said, you know, he is a pastor on the world stage. He couldn't keep lugging pornography with him. And on top of that, it seems like it started to manifest itself in his counseling relationships or his thoughts towards others, you know, where he may have started to act on these urges. And so if you want to get to certain stages when our men, and not every man is going to be on a huge platform like that, like Michael Todd, but our men have places that they need to go, heights that they need to rise up to. And if they're lugging all of this baggage, they can't get there. And that's why God brings us into their lives. We have intuition. We have wisdom. Shakisha talked about it last week, that wisdom in the Bible is referred to as feminine, as a woman. And so it's important that we understand that we have this innate intuition and wisdom within us that will help us to usher our husbands into who they were called to be. And at the same time, we're becoming in the process. Don't think, oh, as I help him become, I'm being left behind. That's not what happens. As he becomes, you become. The Proverbs 31 woman was who she was because of her husband, and he was who he was because of her. That was a mutual situation. He was respected at the city gate. Her children rise up and call her blessed. He rised up and called his wife blessed. There was a mutual understanding between the two, and they were respected throughout the world, throughout their community, because of each individual being respected individually and therefore respected as a unit. And that's so important. So I'm going to close out. Just going to pray us out. So Heavenly Father, I thank you for this talk today. I thank you that, women on the call would have received information that will help them in their respective marriages or relationships to come. I pray that you would cover this word and seal it, dear God, and you would continue to water it, that it has fallen upon good ground. I pray that you would protect me throughout this day, as many attacks may arise against me. But I pray, Lord, that you would protect me in every single way, dear God. I thank you for the ability to talk to your women, your daughters, dear God. I do not take it lightly that you've afforded me this opportunity. May you get all glory and all praise, dear God. And things that I've said, I know it's going to be shared again and again and again and again, dear God. And I pray that you will continue to water the word and water these seeds no matter where they may go across the earth. I thank you for your grace and your mercy, dear God. I thank you for this opportunity. And again, I praise you and I give you all glory and honor. Amen. So bye, ladies. Next week, we have Lathira, who's going to talk Ranger. She's going to be chatting with us. I won't share her topic yet, but I'm so eager to hear what she has to say. And I'll see you all tonight on Facebook. I think I may put it on Instagram as well for the Q&A. Bye.